everyone. So today I am doing a black resin beach scene. What I'm working on is a 24-inch wood round that was originally a whitewashed wood sign, but I had a different idea for it. Before I painted the whole thing with matte black, there was on the around the inner bottom edge, there was the smallest gap. And so I used caulk to seal it just to be safe so that no resin could seep in it. This is the type of resin that I am using. It is artresin. It is absolutely amazing, great quality resin. And I've already taped my edges. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I will explain what I'm doing as we go along. So the first thing I'm doing is after I mixed my 2 parts of resin together, I mixed in with that some black sand that I had, and that's what you saw me pouring a second ago. As you saw, it had a lot of air bubbles in it, and my torch wasn't quite cutting it, but the heat gun was a lot more effective at popping those air bubbles. And then now I'm adding some dry black sand on top of the sand mixed with resin, because it's still going to sink and settle to the bottom of the resin layer, but it's going to be a process of building it up to where there will be an actual sandy texture at the end. So this is just the beginning of it. And those were some really small black jagged black rocks that I was adding. I filled those up as well, and I really like the look that they give. And I have a bunch of just assorted rocks, mostly black rocks, but some are more natural rocks. Some of them have a shinier finish, just a lot of assorted ones. And so I'm just kind of figuring out where exactly I want to place them all. And on some of the rocks, you'll see me intentionally dip my finger in the sandy resin and then touch the rock with it. And that's on purpose, because that is where I want to sprinkle some dry sand on later, so that it looks kind of more natural, like the sand from the beach has gotten on the rock. What I'm adding now is these tiny but pretty realistic looking little starfish additions, and I really like them. I'm using curved tweezers to place them so that I can see without my fingers being in the way where exactly they're going and be very accurate about their placement. And I have a ton of assorted seashells, all different types. Some of them are bigger ones, and then I have a bunch of really small ones, and so that is what I'm adding now. Also, just a little side note thing I wanted to mention. You might see my reflection occasionally, and that I'm wearing a respirator. Now, they say art resin is safer than a lot of other resins, and I do believe that. I genuinely do believe that. But that is if you are using it in a place where you have proper ventilation. I am in my little home studio right now, which is a spare bedroom studio, and it was not nice enough out for me to open the window. And even if it was, I don't consider an open window in a room to be considered proper ventilation when working with resin. And so that is the reason why I am wearing a respirator. So you might notice that I've added a lot more sand to what was there a minute ago, and I did that while the resin was still kind of tacky. But a lot of that that sand isn't actually set in place. A lot of that is still loose, but I'm gonna keep working on it here in a minute and make sure to try to adhere as much as possible down. But I wanted to start working on the water. I really want the outer part to stay mostly black, but like with a little bit of shimmer. So the first resin that I poured is just resin mixed with black acrylic ink. And then the second color I poured is mostly black with like a little bit of blue. It's like a very deep blue black. And that last color, that blue, is just so pretty. And it's also the color that contains the shimmer that will end up spreading out into that black and give it that shimmer that I really want. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm using my heat gun to blow it around and fill in all the gaps and just spread the resin all around. And in a similar way that you would blow paint around with a blow dryer. But you have to be very careful not to hold the heat gun on any one part for too long. Otherwise, you will kind of burn the resin, and you'll be able to see that. So you have to be careful to keep the heat gun moving at all times. You'll also see me occasionally use these little silicone spatulas, like these mini silicone spatulas, to help spread the resin around, and they come in handy a lot. I really like these. Now I am drizzling some of that clear resin over the sand because remember I said some of it is loose. And then I'm taking one of those silicone spatulas and kind of smearing it over the sand. It doesn't look that pretty right now, but I'm going to keep adding sand on top of it. And I wanted one of my big rocks to be protruding out into the water. And so I'm adding that now and making sure there's plenty of resin around it so that it is very well secured. And there's also some additional rocks and stones, and up in the very top, you can't see the whole thing right now, but I added like kind of a stone pathway, if you will. And so and a bunch more of those really small black pebbles and black rocks everywhere. And so I'm just kind of taking the resin through and adhering all the new stuff and then adding more sand on top of that. And then now I'm about to do my first wave. So that was the line of clear resin that I poured for my wave first. And now I am pouring the white for the wave. Now this is a pigment paste that I made myself. And I did make a tutorial video showing how I made it myself. And so if you would like to see how I made my pigment paste, just go to video number 45, and I will also link it in the very bottom in the description. But it's really easy, and it saves you a lot of money, especially if you're not planning on doing a lot of resin beach pieces. It will really save you money. Now when you start blowing out your waves, you have to kind of take your time and make sure that you're warming up the resin with the heat gun first before you just try to immediately blow the white outwards, because you need to wait until the white pigment paste that you've mixed with your resin, you need to wait until that has gotten quite thick to get the ideal ocean wave look. And because of that, it's not going to move that easily at first, which is why you should go a little bit at a time and work on warming up bits, like little bits at a time with your heat gun before trying to push the white outward to create the actual wave. And I have a concentrator attachment nozzle on my heat gun right now to help concentrate the airflow and have kind of better control of it for this first wave. I don't use that same nozzle for all my waves and for the whole thing though. Alright, so the first layer has fully cured and has been lightly sanded. And I also added these iridescent fish within that first resin layer. And since I'm going to be adding a few more layers on top of what's already there, the idea is basically to be able to see the fish like underwater, which they'll stand out really well since they're iridescent against that black base. So I think it'll look really, really cool. Right now I'm just spreading around a layer of clear resin to get ready to make my second ocean wave. So now that that layer has cured, I lightly sanded that one as well and am adding another layer of clear resin on top of that, preparing for a third wave, but also to submerge the fish a little bit more. So I accidentally messed up right about here. It was when I was just trying to lift up the cup, but it accidentally made that line for some reason, and then I mess up again trying to fix my first mess up. And so I used one of those mini silicone spatulas to try to like wipe it up. The first one didn't work because it was completely dry, but the second one I grabbed already had some clear resin on it, and so that like acted as like lubrication and helped it move on the cured resin a little better. But I still don't like it, so I ended up just like using my finger, and it was like a goof after goof after goof. But I did something different with this third wave that I regretted doing. I didn't think I wanted to add the blue to this one, but then once I started blowing out the white, I realized that the blue was really, really necessary. I didn't think the white would be, because the white didn't look that as like thick and concentrated, and you know, it didn't look like there was that much white in the first two waves. But this one, it just, you could like tell a huge difference in that one and the first two that I did use blue in. And so I finished blowing out that white line, and then what I'm doing now is I'm going back through and trying to add the blue over it now, and the white as well, trying to like help make it blend with the first two waves. And I was so mad at myself at this point because I was like, oh crap, I just messed up my resin piece. You know, that's hard to that can be hard to fix sometimes. So I said previously that I really, really wanted that top part to stay mostly black with some shimmer, but that white spread out a lot more than I expected or wanted it to. And so that's why I'm adding that black, or it's actually a blue black, on top of that, and trying to bring that back in. And it's going to leave a harsh line, but that's okay because I'm adding more waves on top of it anyway. Another thing that I'm going to have to redo is those iridescent fish that I had added. Those are now covered up by me having to add that dark colored resin on top of them. And so, but that's fine. I'm just going to add some new ones. I'm using a foam brush to apply a coat of resin on the top outer edge of the piece, and then next I will show you the finished result and close-ups. Abby, you're in the way. That's my kitty. Please be sure to subscribe if you're not already, and thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.